No one was hurt as a man drove his pickup truck toward a group of mostly students showing their support for Black Lives Matter in front of the City Hall. Newton News spoke with some of the people who were at City Hall during the incident. Tuesday, July 7th, a group of Newton residents, students, and activists participating in a peaceful protest were interrupted by a white man who has yet to be identified.
Don't tell me to leave. He doesn't have to. If I tell you to leave, then
stop talking, everyone else walk away.
The protest was organized by rising Newton North High School juniors, quote, to shine a light on the cruel injustices and violence in our country, and to stand in solidarity for the hundreds of innocent Black lives taken. But that wasn't the only reason for the protest.
Well, today was the end of the economic blackout because today was specifically for only supporting economically Black businesses.
The protest, which turned into a march, began at the intersection of Commonwealth and Lowell Avenue and ended at the Newton City Hall.
At first we were just on the sidewalks, but then we gathered in the street for 8 minutes and 43 seconds as a moment of silence for a tribute to George Floyd.
In front of the City Hall, speakers were invited to give their own speeches to the crowd and passers-by. But when one of the organizers, Uche Okonkwo, was in the middle of giving her speech, a man exiting the City Hall shouted out to the crowd.
all Black lives matter? Yes. What about the unborn Black?
He then approached a young girl and argued with her as well.
These are children. I'm a child. Please exit.
Are you part of the City Hall?
Right,
Sir,
okay.
clearly you meant to antagonize. So just let them have their time. You're antagonizing me. Who are you, bro? Guys, who are you? Why don't you It's not worth it. Walk away, sir. It's not worth it. I had to say something. I did. Walk away.
After the verbal altercation, Miss Okonkwo continued but was yet again interrupted by the man, who got in his car and sped off, almost running over the protesters.
What a psycho.
The car just sped out of there. I was right in front of it, and at the last second I moved out of the way, and I was literally, my legs was shaking for a lot of the protest.
Miss Okonkwo said her friend went to the police after the incident, but nothing really came out of doing so.
She went to the police and were like, did you see what happened? This man just drove through a crowd of children. And the police were like, well, since nobody got hurt, there's not really anything we can do. Someone took his plates, reported his plates. And then they were like, oh, we've already talked to many people about it. And I mean, no one got hurt, so there's nothing we can really do.
Mr. Yorkies also explained that the response of the Newton police was not only unhelpful, but also hurtful.
After the protest was over, me and a few other people went back to the police just to ask them if they were going to follow up and to make sure that they were doing something. And one of the older sergeants starts yelling at me and someone else saying, you're only making this a big deal because one of the little Black girls said that you need to make it a big deal.
Though the mayor wrote in a statement yesterday that, quote, the Newton Police Department is actively investigating the incident, many Newton residents are still questioning the veracity in that information.
It just seems like, well, since the police already told Layla to her face that there's not much they could do, it just seems a little strange that she's like, it's being actively investigated.
All over social media, Newton residents and participants of the march are taking matters into their own hands by sharing pictures and information that could help them identify the man and eventually report him to the police. Though the incident is still being investigated by the Newton Police Department and the man still remains unidentified, the fight is not over for these students.
We have some things in the work for the police. We have a petition going to hold the police who were there today accountable, to have something done about what happened, because he did put children in danger by driving through, being petty, even though he had another way he could have gone. And things like that. And I'm going to be speaking with people on the Defund the Newton Police Board on Friday. I think it's supposed to be a virtual meeting.
Systemic racism is a problem, and a lot of white people that have been in power are scared to think about that and address that, and it's easier to come out and hate it than address it. And I think the man today that decided that he wanted to drive a car through a bunch of high schoolers had a lot of hate in his heart, and it just makes me really sad inside and angry. Taking a percentage of police budget and putting it back into the community, that can be a great source of just giving back to the community. So I think continuing to go to these protests, I think, like I said, just don't keep your foot on the gas pedal. You can't let up.
Just like to say, this fight isn't over. It's kind of just the beginning. George Floyd's death was kind of just the last straw for Black people and the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And this is not going to stop us at all.
This is Maxine Friedman, Newton News, Newton Center.